This is a message from the future. This is a message from the past. This is a message from this exact moment in space and time. I have seen the end of the universe. I have seen the beginning, and I have witnessed all the moments in between. I send my story into the void. I don't know who will read it, or when they will. I just hope someone will. One day. I hope maybe someone is already doing it. If my message reaches those living in the past, I want them to know this. In the early 20th century, humanity discovers the secret of time travel experiments begin on a scale with animals, and finally with humans traveling seconds, minutes, hours, and later days backwards and forwards into the future. All seems to be going well. Humans show no long-term adverse effects from time travel. In the year 2130, all of humanity gathers to witness the next phase of the breakthrough. In time travel, a 3-person expedition plans to travel millions of years to the future, specifically 65 million years ago. The goal of this mission was for the crew to film themselves finding a dinosaur, as well as proving that it was possible to travel so far back in time. Unfortunately, it was. The expedition was led by Henry Williams, one of the pioneers in the discovery and development of time travel. Along with him were his colleagues and great friends, Robinson Selkirk and I. The mission would take humanity further back in time than it had ever dared to go, and I would be part of that journey. The exact moment that this happened in my life no longer matters. It is happening right now. However, in terms that primitive humans can understand, this happened to me a long, long time ago. Many memories are blurry, but I still have vividly recorded the smiles we shared as we sat in our seats, preparing to launch into the distant past. Our machine was a semi-sphere, completely white, with a huge window and door where the other half of the sphere should have been. The machine was designed to travel lightly. It only had chairs for the 3 of us. It was self-sufficient while we were inside. We didn't need food, water, or any basic needs to be met. This trip was intended to last only a few minutes in the past, so there was no need to bring any supplies either, aging something we only came to understand later, after the launch, that fateful morning. A voice I have long forgotten started the countdown, and we launched 65 million years into the past. Time travel itself is nothing extraordinary. It is similar to space travel. I have done it countless times. At this point, in scale, time is more like distance than anything else in the machine. It takes 1 minute to travel 1,000,000 years. So for us it was just a short hour of round trip. The trip itself lacks visual interest. The only thing you see outside the ship is total and absolute darkness, accompanied by the sensation of advancing or retreating in it as you get closer to your destination. The time that separates you from it begins to fade. You see flashes of light that gradually grow until at the moment of arrival, the place appears in front of you, and the machine stops on this particular trip. The 3 of us remained silent. Almost the entire time, we had already talked extensively about all the emotions that the trip generated in us, so it was not necessary to add anything else. We simply waited nervously for the moment to arrive. As we had planned, we began to see flashes of colors mixed with the darkness that surrounded the machine. Exactly 65 minutes after takeoff, we landed at our destination. It was a clearing in the middle of a forest of conifers. We did not see any dinosaurs right away, but we heard several calling to each other with an almost excited, We prepared to abandon ship. I don't remember exactly why Henry was the first to leave. He was the captain, so it seemed natural for him to take the initiative. However, although my memory is fuzzy, I don't think we ever specifically discussed who would be the first to leave the ship. I think Henry may have been a random victim of fate. In the H, he put his leg out of the ship. It instantly turned to dust. One moment he was there, and the next he was just a pile of ashes. That scene was frozen in my mind. Henry let out a scream of horror, but Robinson and I could do nothing as he lost his balance and fell out of the ship the moment his body crossed the boundary. He too turned to dust, and his screams died away immediately. Although that terrible moment is etched in my memory, the events that occurred later, I remember vaguely. Robinson and I soon understood that Henry had died. We cried for him, but we also tried to understand what had happened. I decided to throw one of my gloves out the door as soon as he crossed the threshold. It disintegrated into dust. It was then that our worst fears began to take shape. We decided to return with the ship to the future. Upon our return in the year 230, we were questioned about what had happened to Henry. The cameras confirmed our story. Robinson threw another glove out of the machine, and again it turned into dust before our eyes. The analysis carried out on the remains confirmed what we feared. The fragments of the glove were 130 million years old. I don't know if the year I publish this will be before or after the discovery of time travel, but if it is before, then the following will be known. Time travel is possible, but those who do it age as many years as those who travel. You may not feel it right away, maybe not even for trillions of years, but eventually you will feel it. Time will always catch up with you, Robinson. And I spent many days in a kind of nebula, trying to come to terms with the fact that we could never leave the time machine. We finally made the decision that if we were trapped, we would at least make the most of our situation. We said goodbye to the world we knew and disappeared into time. We traveled extensively, visiting as many interesting places and events as we could imagine. We witnessed every historical event one can conceive. We saw the first humans strike a rock to generate a spark. We watched the first animal crawl timidly across the earth. We witnessed the Big Bang. We traveled for millions of years until we witnessed the heat death of the universe. I have long since forgotten most of the events we saw. I have lived through billions of years, and I don't think humans are capable of processing that much time. So naturally there are millennia-old gaps. In my memory, though, I remember how much we saw Robinson, and I don't remember exactly what caused it. I suspect we accidentally appeared in the middle of a thunderstorm and a lightning bolt hit our machine, but I have no way of being sure. Now, whatever it was, the control panel was damaged, and we lost the ability to control where we were going. Since then, my life has gone. Like this, approximately every 10 minutes, the time machine travels randomly to a new moment in time. 99% of the time, we land somewhere dark in the endless void of space. Though perhaps once a millennium, we appear in a more interesting place. And I resisted as much as we could. But the hopelessness and endlessness of our situation began to wear us down. Robinson was the first to break. And though many memories have been lost in the abyss of time, I will never forget the day I lost him. Of all the places I went, I have traveled intentionally or accidentally. I have never seen anything more beautiful. The machine appeared randomly on an island, Tropical was the sunset, and the sky was tinted, an orange, unimaginably intense. I don't know what time we were in, but I suspect it was several million years in the future. As the sun was much larger in the sky than in 230, we sat in silence, admiring the view for minutes. However, we were aware that this paradise would be snatched from us quickly, returning us to the cosmic void of time. "I'm done," said Robinson with such firmness that I knew his decision was final. I tried to stop him. I tried to convince him not to do it, but he didn't listen to me in the end. I gave up. He looked at me for the last time and left the machine. At that moment, he was already too old to turn into dust. He simply ceased to exist. He disappeared in the sunset. I had several seconds to decide if I would follow it. I wouldn't, I did. The machine teleported away, and I went back to the dark void of time. 1 billion years have passed since then, and I have traveled much more. I have finally made a decision at some point. I will reach a time where the internet exists when that happens. I will publish this story as my final testament to the life I have lived. Then I will return to the void and wait. It will probably be longer than there are atoms in the universe. But eventually, I will return to that island of orange sky. When that happens, I will join Robinson and walk off into the sunset. At some point it will happen, and I am willing to wait. I am in no hurry, after all. I have all the time in the world.